Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. Happy first episode in the post-Halloween depression section of the year, known as November. We took a week off, and we are back to do a regular episode, although this is still technically kind of a weird extra one, because this was supposed to be an October episode. In fact, not only did we see this movie a couple of days before the end of the month, we actually started recording the review, and then we had internet issues about 10 minutes in. So we are now here a week later, starting it again. So not only did I have to go and pay to see a Saw movie, I have to have part of the conversation twice. I am not in a good mood about this, Tim. I'm in a happy depression, November period, and then I have to bring up the memories of Jigsaw. I'm not pleased. So yeah, over the course of the year, we worked our way through the first 7 Saw movies, over like 3 or 4 months, building up to this one, so we could do the new release. And we didn't even get the benefit of getting it out as soon as it came out. We ended up having to wait because we had tech issues. But here we are. I'm just going to give you a full spoiler warning right off the bat. Let's not beat around the bush. It sucks. You shouldn't care about it. It's fine. Just, listen to the insanity that is about to follow, and you're good. You're good. So, Tim.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question. Did you enjoy Jigsaw?
No, not at all. It's still, a big pile of garbage movie. There's... maybe some stuff about it that I like more than the other ones, but I mean, it's not saying a lot when, we've constantly said how much we hate the other ones. So, a spoiler alert, maybe I like this one a little more than the other ones, but, it still sucks. It's still the same, over convoluted mess of a storyline, with, the kind of torture and porny gore that I'm not a huge fan of. There were moments that I did actually laugh at this movie, probably more than other ones, but I mean, not, in the way filmmakers intended, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's get the positives out of the way, because there is 1 or 2 positives compared to the rest of the series. This actually looks like a movie. It does not have that stupid filter, kind of bluey, steel, kind of desaturated look to it that the rest of them do. It also doesn't have that quick MTV, schizophrenic editing that the previous movies liked, where it's like flashing through frames, quickly, rapidly per second. It doesn't do that. So on that, at least on its own, that's some positives. That's better than the previous movies. So we can give it that at the very least. And I guess it's because they kind of knew that if they tried that now, we would just be tearing it to shreds. I mean, it was kind of being torn to shreds at the time, but I feel like now it looks so dated. Like when we did those last 7, it felt so like,
oh yeah,
this dates the movie so much. Like this is clearly in the 2000s, so I guess they didn't want to have it to feel like that. So points. Where do we start? Let's talk about the game first, I think, and then we'll talk about all the actual plot which takes place outside of the game, because like usual, the game itself is not the important part of the movie, even though it feels like it should be the important part of the movie.
Right.
It's the actual the detective stuff outside the game that has most of the main plot. But so you have this game with 5 characters, although one of them dies like immediately without you even seeing his face, and they're in like a barn. They're in like this farmhouse. There's a couple of connected buildings, or at the very least, there's like dividers so that there's different rooms in the barn. And Jigsaw over the audio wants them to confess their sins, which they don't really do. And you got like 4 or 5 games in here. You get the first one is like they're all chained up and coming towards some like saw blades that are spinning, and they have to donate a little bit of blood to get through the doors. It's whatever. It's okay.
It seems pretty standard for the Saw movies. It was a little. I did wince a little when they had to, move, like stretch out to the spinning saw blades. It's like, oh, that's I guess that was effective in making me kind of a little squirmy, but
yeah,
not great.
Then the next one is they're all dangling up with the chains. They're going to be hung if the one girl who apparently like for drug money like robbed someone, and like it ended up leading to that person having an asthma attack that killed them because they didn't have their inhaler because their handbag had been snatched. So she's giving 3 needles, and one of them is you know, 2 of them are poison and one of them's not. One of them's a cure or whatever.
The cure.
Yeah. The asshole guy Ryan just grabs all 3 of them and just shoved them all into her neck.
Now, what I didn't get about this was that one of them is very obviously the cure, because he gives the clue. It says like, how much is a life worth, and they all have numbers on it, and then one of them is 350, and then she remembers like, oh, that's how much of the money I stole when I took that lady's purse. So that's obviously the right answer, and yet but she's still like, no, I don't want to do any of them. Like, it's like, no, just choose the one that you clearly just had a realization that you knew was right.
It's her best guess. It's
Because you're definitely gonna die afterwards, and
tension, I guess. Like that's because the other guy has to like grab them and just shove. Because you get that moment where he shoves all 3 syringes in her neck, and they're just all sticking out of her neck. If you don't like syringes, this scene will make you cringe and wince, and you'll be in a bad place with it. So you got that, and then the asshole guy who's like, you're very, because there's always the one guy who wants to like throw everyone else under the bus to try and get out. Like there's always that character, which is why like even the game itself does not feel fresh in any way. It's all very, very kind of typical and by the numbers in that sense. But he ends up trying to leave when he's told not to leave, and he gets caught in this trap where there's these cables like pulling on his leg, and it's going to like snap his leg off. But he just ends up staying there. He refuses to pull the lever to free him. Because he rightly predicts that Jigsaw's being sly, and he's like, yeah, pull this lever to free your leg. What does that mean, free my leg? Oh, that probably means cutting the whole thing off. Let's not do that. I'll wait right here.
And then, how, like, Jigsaw so perfectly knew that he was going to, like, fall for this trap is a little, beyond me. Again, we're playing with...
I think it's fine at first, because at first it's just as simple as there's a door that says no exit, and the guy's like an asshole. He's like, oh, that's obviously exit. I'm not going to listen to this asshole. And he goes and he gets his leg trapped. I buy that. I buy predicting that one of them is going to just go against what it says and do it. Where it gets complicated is the next trap, where the other 2 characters go into the grain silo. There you go. The grain silo, and all the grain starts falling down, and then all these blades start falling down. They're trapped inside, and Jigsaw says, "Oh, the guy in the other room has to pull the lever to let you out." But what? But how? Like, what if someone never get caught in that trap though?
Yeah, no, that's real. I guess like they would have just waited and go on to the next room. But it feels weird. Like this trap is specifically designed, for Ryan, because the first trap was specifically designed for the one girl, and then the next trap is going to be specifically designed for one of them. So like I guess he was just really, really banking that he was going to get himself trapped in this one.
That's true. Yeah, the next one, the big kind of funnel looking thing that spins around, right? And there's like a motorbike at the top making it spin, because the one guy sold a faulty motorbike to someone that got him killed, and he's getting dangled.
Not just to someone, to Jigsaw's nephew, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he said this is his nephew. How much tragedy does Jigsaw have in his life?
I like that they just kind of like gloss over it too. It's just like, that was my nephew. And then, all right, no flashback, no, hey, you should know this character.
So again, the guy just walks in, and it's just like it's like a trap you get in the woods, like a scout or something would set up, where you step into the rope and it just pulls you up.
Yeah.
You have dangling. So A, he's banking on he's the one who's going to fall into that trap. And then B, he's also banking on the fact that he's somehow survived the rest of them. He could have died in the first trap. He could have been the one whose leg went into the trap. He could have died in the silo with the blades.
Yeah.
He could have died like 4 times before this point, and then he had to step on the trap.
Like, we've seen this in the other movies, but this movie is really playing with the, Jigsaw knows exactly what anyone is going to do at any moment, along with also, kind of going to find out later, but he knows stuff about these people's past that there's like no way that he would know. Like just weird stuff. Like the guy Ryan, that he accidentally, well, kind of accidentally, like killed his friends in high school in a drunk driving accident and then lied to the cops about it. But and how in the hell would Jigsaw know about that?
Well, I can get that he can maybe guess that to a point, but he specifically tells the story over the tape where he describes accurately what he's doing in the car the entire time, and he's in the back seat and he's like, throwing his arms up, and I'm like, yeah, how do you know this? It's I think going back to the previous movies, like obviously they've all been guilty of this to some extent, but I think the whole thing about knowing like who's going to be involved in each trap in like in a house or whatever, like I think typically he always like said on the tape, oh, this is for this person, so that person would go forward and then that would be how they get involved in the trap. Whereas here it's just dumb luck that the right person like falls into each trap.
Yeah. I think in like previous movies, they do kind of go out of their way to explain how, stuff fits, and how Jigsaw or whoever is behind it might know it, which I mean it's in convoluted ways and stuff that I don't necessarily like, but at least they are attempting that. I think in this movie they really are just like, all right, we don't necessarily care, like we want this stuff to happen, and we're not gonna go too far out of our way to explain it.
Yeah, and then so he dies in that trap, and eventually we're left to we still have Ryan. He's not dead yet. He's got his leg cut off, but he's still alive. And you have the lady character, Supergirl from Smallville, whatever her character's name is.
Anna.
Yeah, I think it may be actually. Laura Vander is the actress' name. But so they're put in this final trap where they're basically just chained to either sides of the room, and Jigsaw, but at this point, because they make a big point of like, like who's doing this, so that's the other part of the movie, is the mystery is who's actually continuing these killings, because Jigsaw has been dead for 10 years. And then the big twist here, or they're not quite here yet, they don't actually reveal it yet. Here they actually let us think that Jigsaw is somehow alive, because Jigsaw pulls off the mask and it's him, it's actually John Kramer. And it's like, how in this shit? Now to be fair, they do explain that in a fine way. Yeah, it's not actually present day, this is 10 years ago, whatever, fine. But he basically sets up this shotgun trap. He's like, oh, it's a simple game, the best ones are, and he puts the shotgun in the middle of the room, and what is it he says, what's the clue, it's like
this bullet will set you free or something like that.
No, there's a specific pun about it going backwards.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what the exact line is, but it's something like the bullet, like make the right choice or it'll backfire or something like that. Something to that effect. Basically, the whole trick here is that the keys for the chains are in the shotgun shells, but Anna grabs the gun and goes to shoot the asshole character, and the gun's rigged to like shoot back the way into her face, and she dies. That's kind of the game and all of its thing. You actually know that it's set in the past though. Even if you don't get that it's like 10 years, you get that it's not running alongside the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie has like several day changes where it gets light again, it gets dark again, it gets light again. Mm-hmm. Like you can tell that multiple days pass in the rest of the movie, so you know that it's not running alongside. It's not like a race to find the game. Like it can't be.
I wasn't paying attention close enough to really care, but that is a good point.
So there's no risk of it. So yeah. But the rest of the movie, a lot of which feels very random, because you have so the first body that dies in the game shows up like hanging from a bridge in public, and that happens after each kill. Is the victim shows up in public somewhere with a jigsaw cut out of them and like a tape saying something, games are afoot or whatever.
There's like 2 left or something, 3 left.
Yeah, and somehow the movie kind of focuses in on the coroner, who becomes like one of our main characters, and the detectives come and speak to him and ask him about what's going on, and he gives, and for some reason the detective, who seems kind of shady himself, is very suspicious of the coroner, because he's asking his partner who knows him, like, because they fought together, like, in Iraq or whatever, and he's like, oh, what's his deal, what's wrong with him? He's like, oh, well, he got tortured overseas and blah 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 blah, he's back, and he's very suspicious. And then the coroner has this assistant named Ellie, who is a Jigsaw fangirl. She gets excited when she finds out that this might be Jigsaw in some way. She's like, oh, Jigsaw, hell yeah, bitch. Like, she's like super excited. But she still seems very kind of like dweeby. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the movie, when we see her outside of work, she's like this sultry, like, vixen, like, you know, seductress who's like luring the coroner into the dark side. She takes him back to his place, and she's like she's remade like a lot of Jigsaw's traps, and she's bought some of them on the black market. She's like, oh, this was the designs for one of Jigsaw's first traps that he played before any of the others, which, by the way, is the first hint that the rest of the movie's taking place like 10 years ago, like before anything else ever happened. But
yeah, it's like they do kind of explain it later, but it is really weird and comes out of nowhere once you see like the detective is questioning the coroner. And I saw this with my friend, and I literally like just turned to him at one point. I was like, wait, is she a suspect? Like, why is he like questioning her? It's so weird. And then like a little bit later they do explain like, oh, we checked the IPs on our computer and found like she was checking out traps on the dark web or something.
But that's the thing.
It comes out of nowhere.
Even the fact that they do that, though, feels like they've jumped this huge leap. She goes from making one comment, and then he starts looking her like her internet history up, and he starts asking questions about her. Like, there's just this leap. And I remember thinking for the first like 2/3 of this movie, whenever it came to the coroner and his assistant, I'm like, why are these people the main characters? I don't understand why they're suddenly so important in this plot. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. The movie just has this really weird focus to it.
Also, the guy Logan, like, he's so many different things in this movie. Like, he was in the army, which I guess is important later because you find out. Yeah, I guess he has like sniping training. Mm-hmm. But then he was also a nurse at some point, which I think, I'm not sure if that was before or after the army, but that comes into play later.
I think it has to be after, right?
I guess.
I mean, it's the funny thing is that you can buy a lot of people have spent time in the military and then they come back and do something else. And I guess you can see the connection from nurse to coroner. Like, you know, he was younger in his career. He's helping out at a hospital before he gets his own position, doing his own, you know, very specified field. So yeah, the whole twist is the Duncan, was that his name? Is that what you said? Logan, there you go. Logan, who's the coroner. So he actually stopped Jigsaw's cancer from being found early enough because he accidentally switched names on an x-ray between him and another patient. And so when we find out that this game was taking place 10 years ago, he was actually the fifth person who seemingly died at the start. But Jigsaw has a change of heart. Jigsaw comes racing in after the other characters have left the room and saves his life because he realizes it was an honest mistake and he does not deserve to die for it.
I laughed so hard at this point. I feel bad. I feel kind of bad because there's probably like maybe 4 other people in the theater, and I'm not sure if they were like legitimate Jigsaw fans, but I feel bad because I was laughing so hard. Like, it is insane that Jigsaw would ever like have this kind of attitude. Like, I feel like he's killed people for a lot less, and then for him to actually, you know, be like, oh, I'm gonna put this guy in the trap, and then at the last second be like, everyone, you know, makes mistakes. Like, just saying that in his Jigsaw voice is the dumbest thing in the world.
But you know the funny thing is, though, is it almost, this is actually him being what he's supposed to be in a weird way, because like the whole setup is that he only targets people who are genuinely really bad and have done really bad things, and and they've made the choice to do bad things, because the whole point is this guy did just make a mistake. It was an honest kind of like flub. But sure, it had serious consequences, but it wasn't an intentional thing. So it actually makes sense based on what his logic's supposed to be, even though like later on in the movies, like, he seems to be just killing everyone left and right for whatever reasons. But this did make me laugh, like, really 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 bad. like it just, and then we find out that this was before even the first movie, and then this guy Logan, he actually helps build all of the traps. We find because so over the course of this series, we found out that Amanda became an ally and helped him. We found out that whatever the cop was that ended up replacing him, like he was there for a long time helping him. Then in the 7th movie, we found out that the Dr. Lawrence from the first movie was there doing all the medical stuff with him for the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So now in this new 8th movie, 10 years, or what has it been, 7 years since the last one, he was there for even before all of them, helping him build the very first traps. He helps him build the mouth trap and all the other stuff. Yeah. He's been there the entire time, and this is why this franchise keeps getting convoluted. See if they just made it a copycat who just started doing it now, but no, they have to have it be someone who goes all the way back to the start and was there the whole time and was somehow never mentioned up until this point. It just feels so convoluted. Bullshit. We'll get to then. Actually, before we get to talk about how it all wraps up, when everything comes together, I want to talk about just so in my theater. Some theaters have this thing where they have like the special seats. I don't know what they call them. It's like the comfier seats with the leg room that you pay extra for, right? So there's a section in the theater where it's you have to pay extra to sit in this place, and I've never really seen anyone actually in them, or even like what happens if like someone just like, oh, I didn't pay for one of those seats but I'll just sit in it, what happens? Are they actually policing it? Are they monitoring it? I actually found out what happens when I went to see Jigsaw, because there was only a few people there, but there was this couple who decided to sit in one of the special seats, and just at the end of either the ads or the trailers, all of the lights came on in the theater, like full bright. I'd never seen it this bright before, and I was like, whoa, what's happening? Something serious happening? And all it was a staff member came in and talked to this couple and explained to them that they couldn't sit there because they hadn't paid for those tickets. And I kind of appreciated the tactic. It was basically, we turned all the lights on so that everyone would turn around and see what was happening. We embarrassed you on purpose. We're doing this so that you'll never do this again, because we will shame you in front of the entire room, even though it was only like 5 people in this case. Yeah. But and I was like, damn, that was cold. And then I turned around, I was like, man, they better not do that again during the movie if they're those assholes. Because I actually heard one of them say, oh, I'll sit where I want to sit, and they moved back. Because some people just have that attitude. Yeah. And they didn't turn the lights back on, but I did hear at one point like someone came in again and like told them to move. And they did not sound happy, and they even complained, I want to watch this. Well, you can watch this, just go sit in the seat that you paid for. God damn it. Anyway, male tangent.
It's interesting. I wonder how much better the seats actually are.
I think they have extra leg room and they're comfier or something. It's a bit of a gimmick just to try and charge more for a ticket. So that's all it is. Because I've got other theaters who have the D-box chairs.
We have those.
Yeah, which are like emulate a roller coaster basically when you're watching the movie. I've never actually paid to go see a movie in it, but they have like a trial thing in the lobby where you can like test it for a trailer. Yeah. So I've done that just to see what it felt like, and it was amusing for what it was. But I mean, I don't know if I'd ever pay for it.
Yeah, I saw Mad Max in one of those, and it was entertaining. But yeah, it definitely was like, I wouldn't want to do this all the time.
I imagine it's tiring after like 2 hours of like rocking around and.
Yeah, like you get like after a while you kind of just get used to it. Like, maybe like the first half hour or something, it's like, oh, this is really cool, and then after a while it's just like, all right, this is what we're in for. But it makes it weird though, like with stuff like if you have a drink and you want to eat something, it's kind of awkward and.
Popcorn flying around everywhere and all sorts. Anyway, back to Jigsaw, which I get we're avoiding talking about to the best of our ability here. So
I think the thing that's like annoying about these movies is that there's many things, but like they always try to have these like surprises in them, but it's like at this point you've done this before. Like you've done the guy that's been investigating or whatever turns out to be working with Jigsaw. It's like we've seen that many times already. You've done the, oh, guess what? The traps have already happened. It's, in the past. It's like, yes, you've done this before. It's
Yeah,
like,
in fact, that was Saw 2. Like, I mean, it wasn't 10 years,
Yeah.
but the whole twist in that was that the actual game, that because he's trying to find his son who's in the game the whole movie, and you get to the house at the end, and it's like, oh no, that's already took place like yesterday. That's already happened. The footage wasn't live. That was the twist, and this was kind of the same thing here, just in a much larger timescale. And yeah, you mentioned, like, so halfway through the movie, the coroner's wanted and suspicion of being Jigsaw, but then he convinces his buddy, who's like the main cop's partner, that no, it's the main detective who's Jigsaw. He's the one who's got a motive. He's the one who was like suspicious at the start of the movie when they brought this guy in who claimed that Jigsaw was coming back. Like, it's him. It's all him. And his buddy just believes him after like 5 seconds of convincing. It's like, here's like some kind of evidence, and much like how they like questioned the coroner and his partner, like, without much of a reason, he just instantly believes that his partner's probably Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they bring up at this point that this guy's also internal affairs, which they never mentioned before now. It just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, okay, sure. But of course, the coroner has to take justice into his own hands, and he goes try to find the detective, and the detective follows him as well. They all end up at the barn, and it's like, oh, it's years and years later, and it seems like people get knocked out, and we wake up, and we've got detective man thinks the coroner's guilty, and we've got coroner man who thinks the detective's guilty, and they're both in traps. They're both in like these harnesses around their neck, and I'll give it this much credit. I thought this was going to be a really lame trap because it's laser cutters. Because I thought it was just going to beam into the neck and it was just going to decapitate them. But they actually shoot up the way first and then slowly like angle inwards until they get to the head. Yeah, this is okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So the tape plays and Jigsaw's like, so you'll have to commit your sins, or commit your sins, emit your sins, to get out of the trap. That'll release the lock. If you admit what you've done, that'll release the lock. So the coroner goes up first, and he says like, yeah, oh, I've done some bad things, but that's it. Like, I have nothing else for you. So then the trap still triggers, and the lasers go in, and he like just sort of dangles there, kind of dead. And then, but the trap still goes on for the detective, and he's like, okay, fine, I let bad people go. I covered up crimes that led to like his wife's death, which I asked, by the way, that the coroner's wife died because he let someone out who he shouldn't have let out years ago. But a bit of backstory, which seems important, but honestly, like, in talking about it, it's whatever. It's just kind of there because he needs one. So, and you see that when the lasers are hitting the ceiling, there's like burn marks in the ceiling, and it's all going off, and then but he finally admits everything he's done, so the lasers turn off, right? And then that's when he notices, he looks over to the other side of the room, and there's no burn marks in the ceiling, and you're like, oh, the coroner's the Jigsaw, and just like the first movie, the coroner stands up slowly, and it was just a light show. Nothing actually happened. He had some like blood that spurted out of the machine for his neck, and he's like, yeah, it's me. I helped him all these years. I was his victim in the first ever Jigsaw game. But you led to my wife's death. You've let so many bad people go. So I don't even care if you like won the game. I'm just going to kill you anyway. Again, going against Jigsaw's core thing that everyone has a chance to come out better. That is not the case here. He's just like, hey, yeah, I'm just going to turn the lasers back on. Bye bye. And the lasers turn on, and I'll admit it's a pretty cool effect. I actually kind of like this death because it sort of like sliced down his face. You see all the lines coming down his face as it's cutting through it, and then completely decapitates him. Yeah, and his head kind of like it fans out, like
like I don't know, like a blooming onion or something.
Or an orange. Like, see if you have an orange.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like that. It just kind of fans out. It's kind of an okay little moment. And then our coroner, who is our new Jigsaw, he does the whole sliding the door shut thing, although he never actually says game over, which I thought was weird. I thought the whole point of your Saw movies, you're doing all these things from the previous ones, and he never says game over. He just slides the door shut.
That's it.
Jigsaw, ladies and gentlemen. So so it's been left open for another one. Although, and by the way, all the tapes that were sent to the police, he was just editing them out of old tapes. He was just like sort of composing them out of like the old clips, so that it was actually Jigsaw's voice. And that's the movie. So it's left open for more if they want to make more. Obviously, I hope they don't. I'm done. Like, please stop. I will say this now. If they do a Saw 9, we'll review it, sure, but we're not going to go do it when it's in the theatre. We're waiting until it's at home.
I'm okay with that.
I'm drawing the line, Tim. I'm not going back to the theatre to see one of these. I'm not contributing to the box office for this franchise. Just not happening.
And I could be wrong, but I don't think that it did that well. Which, I mean...
Excellent news, Tim.
I mean, don't quote me on it, but I think I saw maybe like some headline or something that said like, oh, not doing as good as expected. But I mean, these movies don't cost a ton of money though, so even if it makes its money, who knows if they'll want to do more. But yeah, it was pretty bad. There's also I forget what the line was, but there was one like super bad like ADR line where like just like a random cop or like comes into the room and says something like, oh, like this person wants to speak with you or something, but it was just like so badly dubbed that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, none of the I can't really think of like too many memorable moments other than just really laughing at the Jigsaw apologizing to the one guy.
He made an honest mistake. He doesn't deserve to die.
But I feel like even like how long would that have gone on? Because the person that presumably didn't have cancer, I assume they would have found out like pretty quickly, like, oh, wait a minute, like you're not showing any signs of anything. Oh, so that must mean I don't know,
maybe a month. Maybe,
but
I don't know.
Yeah, and then but yeah, it's just such a weird, like, how much more stuff can you cram into Jigsaw's backstory at this point?
This was such a depressing endeavor watching all these movies, Tim, and I'm glad we're done. I'm glad that if another one ever does come out, at least we don't have to watch the previous 8 again. Like, we can just we can just watch the new one and that's fine. Although by that point we've probably forgotten like most of the things that.
I mean, I couldn't tell you like half of the stories in these movies because they're just so like, everything is just the same, like with these dirty cops and the person ending up being Jigsaw that you don't think is going to be at first or whatever, and then it's also convoluted and jumbled in my mind, and I just don't care about any of it.
That about sums it up. We just don't care. It's just not like, I don't care about Jigsaw. I don't care about his victims. I don't care about any of the characters in the game. And yeah, so on top of being convoluted, it has that feeling of we've been there and we've done that. It has nothing new to offer on top of the fact that it's just the same old shit. And then so it has a better visual style, but it lacks in the fact that it's just kind of redundant now. We've done this before. So with that said, Tim, let's rate this some bitch. So what would you give this out of 10?
I would give it a 3. Just giving it a few more points, I think, than the usual movies, which just for, again, at least the direction was a little less annoying, and there's a few moments of levity that made me laugh. But other than that, there really isn't much going for it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel like I wanted to go slightly higher though, just so I've got it in the right place in the Saw movies, because I think I think I like rated other things whatever, so I'm gonna go with a 4, just because I think it's probably bang in the middle of the Saw movies. For whatever, the highest being like, what did I give the first one, like 5.5 or something, a 5.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to rewatch any of these movies, it'd probably be like, honestly, either this one or the first one, but hopefully it won't come to that.
That is fair. So no, I do not recommend Jigsaw. Leave Saw dead. Bring back Freddy. Bring back Michael. Bring back Jason. Do
Yeah,
these
there's
things.
so many good people.
Don't bring back Jigsaw. Jigsaw sucks. So that is us for this episode. So let us know what you think of Jigsaw. If you've seen it, in the comments below, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. It is worth mentioning our next vote is up for patrons for the month of December. All through November you can vote. The theme is winter movies, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think the options off the top of my head are Dead Snow, Cold Prey, 30 Days of Night, and the original The Thing from Another World. So those are your options. So you can go and check out that over at patreon.com. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching, guys. Keep watching scary movies. We'll see you next time.